Hi friends, it's Molly with Soul School Tarot and Astrology, and I'm finally back for your Mercury Retro Guide for the upcoming Mercury Retro in Pisces, which is going to be hitting us pretty soon, February 16th until March 10th. So this is your Astro Forecast for that time period, but I'm actually kind of going to be talking about the entire month of February and March, you guys. This particular Mercury retrograde, part of my language, see, it's already working on us, is definitely one that's going to be very impactful, even though it's not a super long one. Let's see. It is the shadow phase began at the beginning of February around the 2nd, and it's going to last the shadow phase, meaning it's going to take until March 30th for Mercury to be covering new ground again in the zodiac. So before I get into what is really, really special about this particular, see how it's working on me already? I cannot get my words out. Particular Mercury retrograde. Okay, that's just how I'm going to do it the rest of the day. Sorry guys, I'm in a goofy mood. Anyways, check out, there I have another video called Mercury Retro Guide, and I believe that came out in October. During a very dense Scorpio season. If you guys have been watching AstroForecast, somebody has. Not a whole bunch of you, but I'm trying to get you guys on board because it's really, really, really important to be tracking these energies, okay? But if you're around back in October watching my AstroForecast, I talked so much about the intensity of Scorpio season, okay? Now that we're on the other side of Pluto's conjunction with Saturn, which happened in January, do you guys see why that Mercury, that Scorpio season was so intense, right? We had a Mercury retrograde during that time period, and I think what that did is it really triggered us to bring up a lot of just old wounds that needed to be healed, okay? Things that were deep down in our subconscious because it was in Scorpio. And actually, what's interesting is that the pre-shadow phase was at the 12th degree, okay? Sorry, I'm just looking at numbers, you guys, and getting lots of thoughts. So let me try to get my Mercury and my Pisces energy in balance, because that's essentially what this whole reading is supposed to be about. But as before I started rambling about dates, okay, go back to October, look at my Mercury retro guide for that particular transit, and I believe there's a really good, I have to go back and watch it, but I believe I talk quite a bit about my philosophy on Mercury retrogrades, why they don't have to be scary. Okay, it's really just kind of this urban myth that floats around that, oh my gosh, you guys, my whole life is falling apart because Mercury's in retrograde. No, honey, your whole life is falling apart because you've kept it a mess. Mercury retrograde just comes along to let you see things from a different perspective. So things that have been present before us, like in our faces, but we just can't see it. Mercury retrograde wants to make us look at it and see it for what it really is, okay? So there's a lot of awesomeness that can come out of a retrograde. Just don't be scared of it, okay? That's why I do these retro guides. I want to let you know how each different Mercury retrograde is going to be a little bit different, the energies that are going to be carried in that. This is our second Mercury retrograde in a water sign in a row. Okay, so back in October, that was in Scorpio. That was a water sign. It was making us think about our emotions in a new way, but really kind of making us dig down into our subconscious. Okay, this particular Mercury retrograde is in Pisces. All right, Pisces is ruled by Neptune. You guys, Neptune is a transpersonal planet. All right, which means that is the transcendent, the soul part of us. All right. So it's about water. All water signs are very, very, very highly intuitive, but Pisces energy is really about being one with the soul. And so this is a really, really important theme that's going to be playing out. But again, the energies are going to warp our perspectives, and we need to go ahead and be ready for that. There was a Mercury retrograde in Pisces last year. In 2019, last Pisces season, okay, Mercury went retrograde on the 5th of March through the 28th. All right. So think back on your own personal timeline. Was there anything that came back into your life at that period of time? Maybe you thought you had dealt with, but it's still hanging around. Yeah, that's going to come back. Okay. If any of you guys have that thing is definitely going to come up again. And, it's a second opportunity to leave behind some things that are probably holding us back. And you guys know that's what we're all about here at Soul School. That's what we're studying. What is really holding us back from achieving the totality of our personal awesomeness, okay? I don't have an official mission statement, but I think that might be it, you guys. We're trying to remove any obstacles to becoming the totality of our potential personal awesomeness, our higher self. Okay, so let's get into this. Aquarius season is over, you guys. Well, it's wrapping up. The sun is still, by the way, I whenever I say that, I know that I just hurt somebody's feelings because there's Aquarius out there who have a birthday between today. By the way, it is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Between now and Sunday, between now and Tuesday, when the sun moves into Pisces. So happy birthday to you guys. Happy birthday, Aquarius. I was really honestly grateful for this Aquarius season just because there's been so much heavy energy going on with the planets in the sky that really kind of helped to raise us above all of that and see things from a more detached perspective, but a more visionary perspective. Okay. So whatever dreams may have manifested during Aquarius season in the mental realm, now it's time for us to take those down into our emotions, into our spirit, into our soul, into our, psychic space, if we have one. If we hold that space for ourselves on a regular basis, we're definitely going to be feeling it in that space, but super duper feeling it in the feels. All right, guys. So that's where we're headed. All right. We are going to have some more aqua energy coming at us from Mars and Saturn later this spring. So those are things I'll talk about because, it's going to be a really fun energy. All right. So nonetheless, we're moving into Pisces season. Pisces season is a time when, like I said, it is a time for dreamers, you guys. Okay. Aquarius is a super genius energy. Whatever genius idea you have given birth to, now it's time to sit around and daydream about it. Yeah. This is your prescription. Daydream. All right. Do a whole lot of daydreaming, you guys. We're going to let me go ahead and bring this up right now. Okay. The intuitive message, the connection that I got, for this particular Mercury retrograde, you guys know I am, I'm really into history. I'm really into literature. I like looking back at mythology, to find meaning or guidance for what it is that we're going through with the planets, what I'm going through in my own personal life, okay? I call this magical ability that I have, okay? It's something I do all the time. I call it mythologizing my life, all right? And that's a huge recommendation that I have for everybody during this Mercury retrograde, okay? What does it mean to mythologize your life? Well, if you've been following me, if you've been watching my AstroForecast, and it comes up a lot, I think, in the tarot, I like to tell stories. I like to tell myths. If you guys saw the Venus and Neptune square Mars video, I do this whole thing where I go into the myth of Cupid and Psyche and how that kind of represents the masculine and feminine energies in the collective at this time. All right. So I use a myth from ancient Rome to tell that story. If you guys, again, if you were around in Scorpio season, I was talking a lot about Sigurd the Dragon Slayer, about going down into the underworld, which is not a thing Sigurd did, by the way. I was kind of mixing metaphors between Greco-Roman mythology and Norse mythology. Okay. It's an epic saga from Scandinavia, I believe. But Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is basically this amazing metaphor for defeating your ego. So it came up during Scorpio season, all right? I feel like mythologizing my life is not that hard for me because I have all these amazing cultural references in my brain that I can draw on. I have a LaRousse encyclopedia of mythology. I have so many books that I never left that part of my life where I just became obsessed with Greek and Roman and mythology, built that into Celtic. I'm into all the mythologies now. Okay. So I try to bring that to you guys. Sometimes I talk about things like Shakespeare. I'll talk about pop culture. And in fact, you don't have to know you don't have to have this vast knowledge of the world's myths, the myths of different cultures, in order to be able to mythologize your life. Okay. I'm going to help you guys do that right now using something that I think probably most of us in the West, definitely in America, are pretty familiar with. And that is the story of Alice in Wonderland. All right. So you don't have to go back into ancient times in order to mythologize your life. The truth of it is, myths are simply symbols of the human experience, right? And what's amazing about this is myths can be altered, they can be distorted, you can bend them to your own will, all right? You can change the ending. All right. And when I got to the ending of the myth of Cupid and Psyche, in the original myth, Psyche and Cupid get back together and they live happily ever after. But when I was telling this story, y'all, I got this energy that Psyche might just be done with Cupid now. She might not even be willing to go back to the kind of bullshit that he pulled. It doesn't matter if he's divine. Okay. She realized the divinity in herself, and that changed the ending of the story. And that's what you guys all have the power to do. That's what we all have the power to do. Because these myths are the tales of our ancestors, the ways in which they were expressing their human experiences. And you guys, the human experiences that we're going through, like love, trust, forgiveness, empowerment, enslavement, these kind of themes are the same things that our ancestors went through. Okay. So by the way, if you don't have a vast knowledge of world mythology, I do strongly recommend looking into the mythology of your ancestors. If you have if you have the privilege of knowing about your ancestry and where they came from, any myths that were powerful to them will be equally powerful to you. All right. And that's kind of what life is all about. It's what karma is all about, you guys. All right. It's about telling the story again and again until you finally get to a different ending. All right. So the ability to mythologize your life, use Harry Potter, use Marvel, DC, use whatever superheroes, Star Wars. I love Star Wars. If you come from a Christian tradition, you've sort of converted or converged from Christianity into paganism, okay? Because the two things I will tell you, you don't have to completely abandon your Christian beliefs. Just most of the judgment, okay? If you did grow up in a Christian tradition and you're getting more into spirituality and you want to look at the myths of your pagan ancestors, understand your ancestors were also Christians and Catholics. They prayed to the saints for you. All right. They prayed to the figures in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Maybe your ancestors were from outside of the West. Okay. Maybe they're Native Americans. They're in a place where their history and their mythologies have been suppressed. All right. So just understanding, I'm not saying you have to take a world mythology course, but just understanding the myths of your ancestors and being able to utilize those in your daily life, that is such an important and amazing tool to have. So I highly recommend it for everybody. Okay. So, That's what it means to mythologize your life. All right. And like I said, and we do this all the time, you guys. Okay. I'm going to do it for you right now. I've done it before in my Astro Forecast and my reading. I'll do it for you right now. But here's an example of how you probably do this in your own life. Okay. I know I do this. Okay. Somebody, let's say, because I do this, I'm a procrastinator, you guys. I have a deadline that I've had days to meet, but now I'm working on it. It's really the last minute. I got to get it done. And that's when I get this invitation to go somewhere really amazing. And I'm like, well, and I internalize this monologue. Well, I guess I got to get my chores done so I can make it to the ball. All right. So there it is. The Cinderella myth. It's from Disney. It's from Europe. It's from, it's a story that's been told over and over and over again. And each time you can alter that myth. Okay. So one day Cinderella says, you know what? Fuck it. I'll mop tomorrow. There's a party tonight, okay? Or maybe Cinderella says, I've been doing that too much. I really am going to commit myself to accomplishing these goals before I allow myself. Whatever whatever goal you want to set for yourself, if you can set it in the context of a myth, it becomes transpersonal, okay? It becomes transpersonal. It transcends the personal into the mythological. And you guys, transcendence is what Pisces is all about. All right. So this Pisces season, we're going to be feeling definitely after coming out of Aquarius season, a definite slowdown. Okay. It is a time, it's associated with the 12th house in the zodiac, and that is the final house. It's the final sign of the zodiac. All right. And so the 12th house is this place that signifies breaking something down so that it can be transformed. And they literally just showed me like an insect carcass under a few inches of soil. And before the soil can utilize those nutrients to feed new things, to make them grow, it's got to break it down. It's got to break it down to its simplest bits and pieces. And that's what Pisces season allows us to do. Okay. So there's this sense of decomposition. And I know that sounds kind of creepy, but, wow, that's beautiful, because I have this friend of mine who is a Pisces, and she's always, well, first of all, she's always in nature, and I'm jealous of her for that, but I can do better. I can just be more in nature myself. But she finds these remnants of life, okay? These souvenirs of death, if you will, skulls and things like that, and makes art out of them. That is the mutable water energy that Pisces carries. Okay? From a very, very, very intuitive and creative and emotional space, being able to take something that is dead, decompose it, and turn it into essentially fertilizer. Okay? So that little insect underground is going to get broken down. That's Pisces season. It's becoming the nutrients that will create growth, all right, for a new venture, which is what we get when we come into Aries season. So you guys, that's coming up, and that's really, really, really exciting. So, but please understand that Pisces season is not a time of action. It's very much a time of reflection and release. Okay. That's also pretty much what Mercury retrogrades are all about. That's the gift that they bring to us, you guys, reflection and release. I do want to let you know, Pisces is represented in the tarot by the Hanged Man. By the Hanged Man. Okay. If you guys know Hanged Man energy, that is literally the story. Okay, let's go to the myth. All right. Odin, I believe it was Odin, the Norse god, wanted to know how to read the runes. Okay. He wanted to know the secret of the runes. And he went to this hazel tree, I believe. You guys, I'm drawing this out of the air. My guides are helping. They're patting me on my back because I'm remembering the details. Okay. He goes to this hazel tree because hazel trees are believed to have, All trees are believed to have wisdom in Norse and Celtic mythology. If you have Norse and Celtic ancestors and you're not feeding them hazelnuts, go get a bag of hazelnuts. They love that stuff, okay? But anyways, he goes and he ties himself to a hazelnut tree and just suspends himself upside down from that tree for 9 days, okay? Just sacrifices anything else that he had on his agenda for those 9 days. He says, fuck it, everything else can wait. I'm just gonna stay here until I see this from the higher perspective. Okay? From the spiritual perspective. So again, the Hanged Man is not a card of action. Do you know what is a card of action? The Magician. And do you know what the Magician represents in astrology? It's Mercury, you guys. So think about, if you know the tarot, think of how very different those energies are. Because the Hanged Man just submits to the universe. You guys, I was on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already, at Soul School, TANDA. So T and A. Because I do my daily draws. But I was checking out these awesome tarot tattoos. And I'm personally not into BDSM, but I'm also not scared off by it because I know lots of really normal people who that might not be their thing. Okay. But so it was somebody it was this submissive, it was a Hanged Man tattoo. But it was somebody who was all bound up with ropes in a very BDSM kind of way. All right? And it's about that submission. Okay? Just submitting to the experience that's going on around you. All right? That's what Pisces is all about. Mercury does not feel comfortable in Pisces because, like I said, Mercury is the magician energy, okay? Now, please understand, all that we create begins as thought. And that is what Mercury represents. Thought, communication, logic, intellect. You guys, as soon as I stopped talking about Pisces and I started talking about Mercury, my gears shifted mentally. All right. I am Mercury dominant. Okay. I have a tremendous amount of Mercury in my chart. And then Jupiter second. Neptune's probably, I don't know how Neptune's doing. Actually, I have Neptune conjunct my ascendant. So Neptune rules Pisces. I do have a lot of Pisces energy going on, but there are two different parts of my brain. And if you, if you see my AstroForecast, you guys know I have this really hard time balancing back and forth in between the notes that I've written down with my Mercury self, my Mercury brain, and the downloads, the spiritual, intuitive messages that I'm getting from my Pisces brain. All right. So Pisces is definitely about. See, now I can't find the word because I went back into Pisces territory. Psychic reception, intuitive reception. All right. Receiving messages from spirit. And that's something a lot of you guys might be coming up on. All right. But I want to talk first about what Mercury energy is all about, okay? It's about reality as it is perceived by the logical senses, okay? So, the Hanged Man is neutral gear, all right? In a car. Say you're in a car, you got to put it in neutral sometimes. If you're at the top of a hill, you're going down. If you're at the bottom of the hill, you're staying there. Sorry, that's gravity, okay? So, the Hanged Man, Pisces energy, is the neutral gear. Mercury is drive. Okay? Mercury is thought plus drive. It is, the magician energy. Okay? Is thought plus drive. And that's what is the card that represents Mercury. But it's in retrograde. So imagine going full speed in reverse. That's kind of what it's going to feel like. Well, maybe not full speed, okay? Because like I said, Pisces is going to slow us down a little, all right? Retrograde slow us down a little. And in fact, I think maybe in my last Mercury retrograde about how when you're backing up a car, okay? Have you ever, it's dangerous. Don't do it, really. Have you ever just backed up your car and instead of turning around and looking, you just look at your rearview mirror? Yeah, like I said, it's dangerous. Don't do that, you guys. But I used to be a bad driver and I would do that sometimes. Really don't do that because there could be animals or kids back there. You don't know. Anyways, okay, public service announcement aside, all right? It just requires you to shift gears. It requires you to shift to a different part of your brain because you're perceiving everything from a different angle. That's what this Mercury retrograde, that's what we're really, really going to feel about this Mercury retrograde. Okay. That's what might be frustrating for some of us if we don't know that we need to take a hanged man position at this time. We need to be Odin, go to the tree, tie our feet there, understand that we can search and search and search for the truth, but we need to let it come to us. Okay. We need to let it come to us. We really need to be able to trust our intuition. Where did this go, you guys? Hold on a second. Yes, one of my notes. Trust your intuition above your logic during this time period. Because here's the thing. As soon as the sun on the 18th moves into Pisces, what else do we have going on? Mars is in Capricorn. What about Venus? I felt like I want to talk about Venus. Venus is in Aries right now, okay? So those are both cardinal signs, all right? We have the drive to move forward. We have the desire to move forward, but we don't have the grasp of reality that we need to do that successfully at this time. And the reason why during this Mercury retrograde is because we're looking at everything through our senses, our quote unquote scientific senses, and not our metaphysical senses, all right? So opening up your third eye, opening up your crown chakra is so important. If you guys are on the path to ascension, if you guys are here with me, coming with me on this ascension, okay? Or just having to be on your own, all right? This is third eye season, okay? Third eye season, all right? Opening that up and letting the messages come in, which means we might have to tell our logical mind, shh, shh, shush. Oh my God, you guys, I had this, they're showing me this thing. It's kind of creepy. I wasn't sure I was even going to bring it up. Some people interpret it as creepy. I think it's kind of funny, but the energy it's a little creepy. The energy that I got from what's going to be going on with our logical minds during this energy is somebody leaning in and just going, shh, just let it happen. Right? It's a little creepy vibe, but the universe didn't mean it that way. Okay. The universe is leaning in and saying, shh, logical mind, just let it happen. That's what your intuition wants to tell you right now, because I feel like the universe wants to pull a lot of you guys into directions that your logical mind would never really let you go. But your intuitive mind is open to it. Okay. In fact, what's really beautiful and what I've learned about myself over the past, just the course of my own ascension, is this has happened to me so many times. I'm handed something intuitively that I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that was really a thing. Really? That's a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. Okay. So the part of our brain that decides what's a thing and not a thing, okay, what do we believe in? What is a part of reality and what is not a part of reality? That part needs to sit down and let the third eye show it some things. Okay, the third eye is all about intuitive information coming in. Okay, so Alice in Wonderland. That's who we are, you guys. We're Alice. Do you remember at the beginning? I'm gonna talk about a quote in Alice in Wonderland that comes from the book, but I'm also just going to be using, because this is what you do when you mythologize your life, I'm going to be using the Disney cartoon as well, because I think that's what a lot of people in like my age and region and time period and everything, like I think that's what a lot of people can connect to. If you remember at the beginning of Alice in Wonderland, what she's doing before the white rabbit shows up and she chases him down the rabbit hole, okay? She's studying. Yes, she's a part of Victorian society, and you can tell her parents are pretty well-to-do because she knows a lot about manners and the right way to act, and has all the facts about tea time. How do you act at tea time? Okay, that's a sign of high society. In Victorian or post-Victorian England, I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember now when Alice in Wonderland was originally written, but I believe it was in the late 1800s, maybe 19. Okay. Anyways, so if you got money and you got a daughter, you buy her a tutor. Okay, and you sit there and you make her learn by rote memorization. The logical mind loves rote memorization. Okay, the Mercury energy does actually not hate memorizing things, and she's so bored with it. And that's when her imagination kicks into gear, and she sees this little white rabbit run by. Okay, now the general collective, 99% of the time, if we saw a white rabbit run by, we would say, that's crazy, and go back to the logical stuff. Go back to the book stuff. That Dinah, that she's chilling with her cat and everything like that. That cat is that third eye energy, you guys. Okay? And just we'd ignore the white rabbit and go back to the work in front of us. But Alice follows the rabbit. Do you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say that instead of being a part of my imagination, this white rabbit is an actual part of my reality. And I'm going to go pursue that reality and see what it's like. And what happens when she gets there? Oh my God, you guys. Nothing is logical. There's nothing logical about Wonderland. And what makes it such a struggle, because if you don't remember it being a struggle for Alice, go back and watch it again. Every crazy new situation that she encounters, she tries to meet with her logical mind and she can't make sense of it. And so they're like, well, no, we have to, everything's upside down. It's the hanged man energy. Everything's upside down. So it has to be explained to her. And slowly over time, she begins to, like, I talked about Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's journey, okay? Dorothy is an epic hero. Alice is an epic hero, all right? So the journey that she goes on, all she wanted to do was follow the white rabbit. She had an objective, okay? By the way, Alice is the magician energy. When I was talking about Mercury and the magician energy, okay? So she walks into Wonderland, and her tools don't seem to work. Her tools of logic and understanding the world around her don't work the way they did when she was sitting in the tree reading books and learning by rote memorization. Okay? So our logical mind is not going to be our most reliable source of input during this Mercury retrograde. It's going to be our intuition and our imagination. Pisces is a place where intuition and imagination meet. That's what dreams are made of, you guys. Right? So she has this objective. I'm going to follow the white rabbit because the white rabbit is very Mercurian himself. Oh, I'm late. I've got to get there. Let me get my clock out. Let me get my little watch out and look at it because I'm measuring time. Pisces don't give a fuck about time, y'all. You ever had a Pisces friend? Listen, I'm a Taurus. I'm late to everything. But my Pisces best friend is even later. I'm just saying, okay? Tauruses will take their time, but Pisces moves even slower. Because they indulge the white rabbits. They indulge their imagination. They assign it to their own reality and say, well, let's explore this and see what we find. Okay? So Alice, throughout her journey, she meets all these she goes to an birthday party. The flowers are talking and they're really kind of assholes. There's a hookah smoking caterpillar. Okay. She has this objective to follow the white rabbit. Well, that's his own objective. Okay. But she's continually distracted by all these things that she's never seen or imagined before. And they blow her mind. But she's frustrated with it the whole time. This is impossible. She finally gets to where the rabbit's going. This is the quote from the book, okay? So I'm mashing up my myths here. But you know that's how we do. It's my freaking myth, okay? I'm going to do that. You can make it yours. So, okay. So Alice is talking to the Queen of Hearts. And the Queen of Hearts, because that's where the white rabbit's going. He's got to get to the place. And I think he blows a little trumpet, right? Oh my God, he's so cute. I love it. I'm having flashbacks to my childhood now and watching that movie over and over and over again. I loved Alice in Wonderland. Alice is talking to the Queen of Hearts, and the Queen of Hearts mentions that she's like over 100 years old, and Alice is like, that's impossible. I can't believe that. And the Queen's like, you should try. Okay, the Queen's a bitch, but she got a point. Queen says you should try, and Alice laughed, and she said, there is no use trying. One can't believe impossible things. And the Queen says, I dare say you haven't had much practice. When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why? Sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Okay? So you guys, you're being called to imagine or to think, to believe in impossible things. All right? That's the lesson that Alice needs to be taught in her journey through Wonderland. And that's the lesson a lot of us are going to be taught in Mercury's retrograde motion through Pisces this February and March. Okay, you guys? I really, really, really hope that this has been helpful for you. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. Tomorrow, right now, it is, like I said, February 14th. And y'all know I got plans, okay? Single ladies on the town. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a pick-a-pile reading for you guys to just gain a little bit more insight about what this Mercury retrograde will have in store for you. Actually, correction. I'm going to follow my intuition. Keep an eye out. If it's not a pick-a-pile reading, I think what my guides are asking me to do is one for air signs, one for fire signs, one for water signs, and one for earth signs. So keep an eye out for those videos. Thank you so much for being here. Hit the like button before you go. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with a friend. Send it to Deborah. All right? And you guys, have a very, very, very merry unbirthday. I love you all, okay? We're going to get through this together. It's not going to be that scary. Trust your intuition and believe at least 6 impossible things before breakfast. You're going to make it through. All right.